morning, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Treecat Chat. I'm Michelle, and I'm glad to have you here every Saturday, bringing you expert commentary, insight, and news in the world of e-commerce, reselling, and re-commerce with a little fun and energy to kickstart your weekend. Hopefully you guys are going to have a great grad and dad weekend. Tomorrow we'll be celebrating the dads and the grads in our family, and I am excited and here for it. I don't know about you. So cheers to dads, cheers to grads. We appreciate all of you. And we're excited for you to get into the marketplace, and we're excited for the dads to celebrate how wonderful, how much we appreciate all of those dads out there. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about some changes happening in the marketplace for reselling. Specifically, sort of like the Amazonification that's happening in eBay. And so people that are, smaller sellers like me are kind of like, wow, what's going on? Can I still be a smaller seller? Well, I want to think about that in terms of the journey. And of course, we want to talk about how things have changed for me, and maybe they've changed for you as well. So back in 2002, that's when I first got onto eBay. And that was just, I was just a hobbyist. I was throwing things on there when I wanted to. There was no pressure. It was just like, let me sell things out of my house. Okay. So that's when maybe, some of us started learning about e-commerce and eBay. And then about 2017, I was like, this could be an actual business. And so 2017 came along, and, I start selling I'm selling on eBay, right? Then I start selling on Poshmark and Mercari, right? Because there's all these opportunities out there. And sometimes we get a little bit annoyed with eBay and some of the changes they make. And I think in 2017, we were starting to see eBay, for example, kind of commoditizing its sellers. Let me fix my thing here. Hold on. So let's talk about the journey and how it's changed for me and how it's probably changed for you as well. So 2002, Hobbyist. 2017, I'm wanting to, kind of stay at home with my kids and be a stay-at-home mom, but also have a job. And so I start selling back on eBay. I get back on eBay. I'm now noticing that the game has changed a little bit, and I've got to be a little bit more competitive. And there are more opportunities out there, right? And so I'm selling on all these platforms, and I've got a VA that I use, right? And I've got a photographer, right? So I'm kind of outsourcing some of this stuff. And it's like, wow, this is a really cool business. And, basically until 2020, I'm like loving it, right? I'm doing really well. I'm growing, I'm scaling. But then the need for cross-listing, right? Because I have to manage all this stuff. So I start cross-listing, right? And I try as a may. It becomes more and more difficult as you add more platforms to kind of manage that inventory. And then, we're doing our best, and 2020 is here. So I would say in about 2020 to 2022, that's when we were all in our homes and, everyone basically started buying online, right? So that was when we were all stuck in our houses and everyone's buying online. So it becomes really easy to sell online. It's really easy because everyone's just buying, right? But what we noticed in that time period is that people were expecting us to be at the same level of Amazon. So if they're buying stuff on eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, they wanted that Amazon experience. They wanted it to be delivered quickly. They wanted the photos to look great. They wanted quick shipping, and they wanted all the things all the experience, the same experience that they got for Amazon. And so a lot of us, we're doing the best we could. We're shipping quickly, right? Next day shipping. We are, increasing the quality of our photos, right? And our titles and descriptions. And then I got a little bit burned out. I don't know about you, but a lot of us, maybe we got a little bit burned out because we were shipping machines, right? We were shipping machines, we were selling machines during this time period because the opportunity was there because everyone was stuck in their houses. So I personally, that's when I was like, I need to have a little bit of a break from reselling. I went and got a day job, and that's fun. But when you're used to working for yourself, you miss that. You miss that that lifestyle. You miss the ability to have control of your time. Maybe you don't really appreciate when your boss tells you you and all your coworkers, everyone in this room is replaceable and no one will be missed. Maybe you don't miss that kind of, you don't really enjoy that kind of feeling of being just easily replaceable and that kind of thing. So then I go back to reselling, right? It's 2025, 2024, 2025. And boy, has the game changed, right? We are starting to notice that there's more competition, right? Everyone's using AI now and automation now. And let's put that up there. AI and automation. Because there's even more marketplaces, right? We have even more marketplaces. Okay, so we've got better quality. What is AI enabling us to do, right? It's enabling us to have better quality. Actually, let me use red here. Better quality listings and better quantity, right? So we're putting up listings that, maybe we're putting them on AI models and they have an amazing white background or they have an AI background, right? And the platforms themselves enable us to do this, right? Like, for example, I don't know if you noticed, but Poshmark just announced they have a smart listing AI. Mercari has the same thing. And eBay's starting to get into like this sort of bulk onboarding using automation, right? So it's now become more easier than ever to onboard high quality listings that really look like something you'd find on Amazon. So the Amazonification of eBay has started, and so yeah, I don't know. It's hard to see with my. There we go. you've got everything's super easy, but you get burned out here, and now you're noticing, wow, like what we are doing with AI these days. We are upping our quality. We are upping our quantity. We are automating things. Like I didn't know years ago or even last year that I would need to be cross-listing at the rate that I'm cross-listing now. I am cross-listing 100 items for just a little bit over 4 minutes to other platforms. That's pretty incredible. I did not know that I was going to need that capability until now, because now people are using AI and automation and they're getting those first listings up at huge quantities, but they still want to scale and they still want to move to other marketplaces, right? So I think that the question is hobbyist reselling dead? I don't think it's dead, but I think that in 2025, you have to think more like a CEO and less like a hobbyist, essentially. So you can still do reselling part-time because we have all these great tools that enable us to do that. But you have to think in terms of, what's my ROI? How can I better, source? How can I better, you're just optimizing everything. And one of the things that, no one's really talking about, or AI is now coming into search. So eBay just announced, maybe it was a couple of months ago, that they're going to be switching to agentic search. So Cassini is going to be changing, right? And it's going to be requiring us to follow with those changes. So we're going to be changing, how we do our titles, how we do our descriptions, how we do our photos. And so that may require us to be more dynamic in our pricing, right? Like maybe we reprice things on a regular basis. Maybe we change our titles on a regular basis based on what search is telling us. So there's some really interesting things happening with AI. It's creating better quality, it's creating higher quantity. But I think that, if you're a hobbyist and you're just finding yourself becoming a business person. I think that's what's happening to me. So in 2025, reselling becomes less about passion and more about process. Even if you're just a part-time seller, even if you're just doing it as a side hustle, you're finding ways to optimize. You're finding ways to do things with higher quality, with higher quantity. And so that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that, you can still be a part-time or hobbyist. You just have to do things smarter. If it's starting to feel less about your passion and more about your process, that's if the joy of reselling is starting to feel like a job, that's your cue to start automating that part of the job, right? And that's where Treecat comes in, because we don't care where you list first, but what we do care about is helping you manage the back end of that life cycle, the second part of that life cycle. So I'm listing tons of stuff, and I'm using AI to do it. And then it gets pulled into Treecat seamlessly, right? And then I tell it, hey, I'd like to autofill 100 items for cross-listing, right? So I just tell it autofill. I'm doing it from eBay to Poshmark and Mercari, and I'm letting the process begin, and it's just running in the background. And then basically, I don't have to sit here and wait for it to end, but I can if I want to. But it takes about 4 to 5 minutes for it to autofill all of this information for me. And then I can simply just list it right onto Poshmark, list it right onto Mercari, and it's kind of a hands-free no-brainer. And so why is this important? When your quality and your quantity start accelerating and you still want to grow, you're going to be needing to, have processes in place and management. And that's the cool thing about Treecat is, it's not a Chrome extension. So it's really pretty robust. And we're sort of, bringing essentially like enterprise level tools to everyone, right? So, in terms of the way it works, it's not a Chrome extension. It's not a mobile extension. We designed it, specifically with the idea in mind that, if you're selling on multiple platforms, it will sales detect and take it down automatically. You don't have to even push a button. It will automate things in bulk, and it will automate things, in a very smart way. That's less problematic for being detected, less problematic for security, because it's a native application. So yes, you do have to install something on your computer and kind of configure it. But once it's set up, it's pretty solid. And, it was designed by people who have many, many years of experience migrating data at the enterprise level. And so we're bringing that enterprise level stability to you, right? It's 24/7, and you just don't get 24/7 when you're dealing with a Chrome extension or a mobile app. So if you're, wanting to think like a CEO, you need tools that really perform. So something to think about in 2025. Businesses manage. Hobbyists, they might just list, but you need the second part of your workflow to manage and to make sure, hey, I'd like to do things in bulk, right? I'd like to onboard in bulk. I'd like to cross-list in bulk. I'd like to delist, relist in bulk. And I'd like to have my Poshmark items shared for me, without ever having to really push a button, because it's scheduled and it's automated. And so, I really think that you can be a hobbyist, but like I said, you need to think like a CEO. And that's a good thing, right? Because I think that we grow and we evolve, and we adapt, because we're adaptable people. So gone are the days when I would, source 80 items at the bins and use a VA and a photographer to help me, with my processes. I can do that all now. Jump to 2025. I can do that all now for a very, very reasonable price, because, we do the pay as you sell, and we're the only one that does the pay as you sell model. So you don't actually have to pay anything to us. There's no monthly fee. You can onboard everything. You can cross list everything. And it really doesn't there's nothing that we charge you until the item sells and we take it down for you. So all that other stuff that comes with, our program, like the delist relisting and the Poshmark sharing and all that stuff, that is all included in the pricing, which is actually like a reverse scale. So the more you sell, the cheaper, and the more it takes down, the cheaper it becomes. And so, it's a different way of thinking about software as a service, right? And nobody else is doing this. Think in terms of a CEO, right? Think in terms of get ruthless about your ROI, get ruthless about your sell-through rate. Listings have to be better quality now. Photos have to be better. Everything has to be SEO optimized. And frankly, it's probably going to have to be dynamically changed. The pricing, the titles and descriptions will probably have to be dynamically changed now that eBay is moving to this other way, right? All right. So anyways, my cross listings are done, and I can then go and check them and make any changes that I want to them, and I can go list them. But yeah, there's a lot of changes happening. I think that if you still want to be a hobbyist, you're going to have to think like a CEO, because, now in terms of paying taxes, I think it's like the threshold of $600, and then they will send you a 1099. So really, even the hobbyist has to be a business. So, we're here to give you those business level tools without the business level cost. And remember that listing is just the beginning. And Treecat's going to handle that messy middle for you, right? So you can keep selling and get your listing seen on more platforms, and make sure that, the management of the second part of the life cycle for your listings and stuff is on point and is stable and is enterprise level, enterprise grade. So with that being said, I mean, I know that like today is a really important day to get out there and start, thinking about what you're going to do for Father's Day, thinking about how you're going to celebrate your grad. So I don't want to take too long, but I just wanted to get up here and just say, hey, you know what? There's still room for the hobbyist in 2025, but you have to think smarter and you have to work smarter, and you need tools to help you do that. And make sure you're selecting the tools that don't cost you an arm and a leg, that only charge you when you make a sale, and partner with the one that, really rewards your success, because that's what Treecat's doing. We're rewarding your success by charging you less the more you sell. So if you want more information, check out treecat.io, because cross-listing isn't enough. There's a whole second part of life cycle that you need to manage and that you need to automate. So I hope you will take a look, because it's free to check out. And if you need any help, we have a free personal training session. So connecting to eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, and tons of ways to, get some little tutorials on how to do it. And don't forget that you need to use a promo code if you sign up. And we have that when you're doing the onboarding process. You can choose from any of our affiliates. So anyways, with that being said, guys, have a great day and keep selling. And we'll talk to you next time. Mahalo.